Okay, well, welcome to Yankee Trace, our favorite golf course. Today, Chris, Sally, and I are going to kind of play a little round of golf today, work on a little bit of things on our swing, and we're going to hopefully maybe help some of you guys out there to kind of work on some of the things of your swing. Chris, what are you going to do today?
I'm going to show you how to hit some fairway shots, sand shots, a little bit of putting and chipping as well.
I'm going to show a shot from the tee box, a treble shot, and a pitch shot.
Okay, so hopefully some of these things you'll see today will help you with your game. But before we get started in golf, there's one very important thing we need to do, and that's warm up. So we're going to start our day on the driving range. Okay, here we are on the driving range. For me and for most golf pros and a lot of golfers, this is where your day should begin. We realize that, you know, time is tough these times of the year, but it's always good to kind of warm up, and it really doesn't take a whole lot of time. Basically what I've done, I've gotten a warm-up basket of balls, about 10 or 15 balls, but before I start warming up, one very important thing to do is to stretch out. I'm going to show you a couple easy stretches that a lot of the top players do, because the more flexibility you can have in your body, the better you're going to hit the ball throughout the day. So the first exercise I like to do, and you'll see a lot of this if you go down the up and down the driving range at some of the PGA Tour events, is they like to get their core stretched out. The core meaning their bigger muscles, shoulder, upper back, lower back, and your thighs. So I'll always get kind of into a pre-hit position, my posture, and I'll just start turning my shoulders. Notice my club is behind my shoulders, not on my neck. And then I'll just turn. I'm really just kind of emulating a real golf swing here, getting myself in the mode that I'm going to hit some long, high drives today. So I'll do about 4 or 5 of these, slowly speeding it up, but never going too fast. That's going to get my upper back, shoulders, and everything working properly. It also allows me to work my weight transfer. Next, I'm going to stretch out my lower back, and it's just very simple. I just take 2 clubs and I stretch down. One of the most important things in stretching is never to bob up and down. All you're really trying to do is get your muscles to stretch. The longer you can hold it, the better it's going to be. I'll do 3 of these. I can feel my lower back, my hamstrings, and my calf muscles kind of stretching out. And then lastly, I'll just swing a couple clubs. I take 2 clubs to get a little bit more weight. I always look around you to make sure that somebody's not behind you when you do these things. I get right back into my posture. I'm just going to do swings at about 50% speed. Again, just stretching out. It's amazing how just doing these few exercises can really start your day off on a good note. Notice I'm holding them. And then holding the finish, because balance is very important throughout your round. Okay, after that, I'm going to start hitting some balls. Okay, now that I'm stretched out and ready to go, I'm always going to take a few minutes to hit a couple balls. Notice I've only got about 10 or 12 balls here. Before a round, I'm not going to hit a large bucket or too many balls, because I'll get too tired. The whole purpose of warming up, either stretching or hitting balls, is just to get everything grooving to get ready for a nice round of golf. What I like to do is I like to set a club down behind the ball to use as a guide, because really early on, hitting the ball straight is really what I'm looking for. So I want to have a guide as to what I'm aiming at, so I'll aim at a target out there on the range, and then the rest of it is just letting my golf muscles start to kick in. When I first come out, I may not even hit some of these balls very well. What I'm really looking for is to make sure that I'm turning properly, making a good weight transfer, and then letting the timing kick in. So the first thing I'll do is I'll just take 1 or 2 practice swings. I'm also going to start with a higher lofted club. Today I'm going to use a pitch and wedge. Some days I'll use a 9, some days a sand wedge. Step up to the ball, and I'm just going to start making those nice simple swings without trying to hit it too hard or force it. Again, focusing on just a couple things, making a nice turn and then making a nice finish through the ball. A lot of times what causes us to miss-hit shots is we step up to the first tee or anywhere in the course and we just start swinging too hard at it. What that causes obviously is a lot of mishits, but you lose distance and everything else. Again, what I'm trying to do in all of my rounds of golf is keep my core muscles into the swing. That's my bigger muscles, shoulder, back, legs, hips. Let my arms and everything else just kind of work as they should. Step up, hit another shot. And again, just looking for a nice ball flight. I'm not too worried how far I hit it at this point. I'm still just trying to get my muscles warmed up for that big drive that I'm going to hit on the first tee. I always like to take one practice swing in between so that I don't get too quick, kind of emulate it like I'm playing a round of golf. Walk up, and believe it or not, that's as good as I can hit it. So some days that comes early, other days it takes a little bit longer to get warmed up. But once I start hitting a couple good shots, I'll switch clubs. I went from a pitch and wedge to a 7-iron. I want to get a little bit of a gap in my clubs, but I don't want to go right to a driver. Same form, same everything. Let the natural length of the club determine just a little bit of a longer swing. Step up to the ball and repeat that motion. Again, same move, I'm not changing anything. Once I hit a couple 7-irons, I may finish with maybe a driver. A lot of people ask me, Steve, is there a difference between iron and a driver? For me, and technically, there's really not a difference in the swings, but since it's a longer club, it does feel a little bit different when I swing. The only adjustment I do make is I widen my stance a little bit to allow for a bigger turn and a bigger finish. But other than that, I try to keep the tempo and all the other things exactly the way it was when I was hitting my pitch and wedge or 7-iron. That's about 300 down the middle. I'm ready to play golf.
We're on the first hole of the vintage course, and I'm going to play the first hole. What I'd like to talk about is the think box and the do box. First of all, we have the think box, and this is where we do all our pre-shot thinking. I want to know the general characteristics of the hole. Is it a long hole? Is it a short hole? Is it a wide? Is it tree lined? Is there water on the left? Is there a bunker on the right? So I have an idea of what are the challenges that are going to be facing me. After I've thought about all those things, I decide that, okay, I'm going to play my driver and I'm going to play down the left side. And an important thing for us to do is make sure that we have an aiming point. And our aiming point needs to be something way, way, way out in the distance, farther than I could ever hit. So I don't want to have my aiming point 150 yards out there. I want to have my aiming point way down on that left far corner, and that's where I'm going to aim. The next thing that I want to do is visualize my shot. So I'm picturing how my shot is going to go high in the air, rolled out a little on the left side, and it's going to be perfect setup for my second shot. Then I've done all my thinking. That's all my thinking. Now it's time for me to do. And what I need to do is move from my thinking box to my do box. And before I move to the do box, the very last thing that I need to do is decide and commit. And I'm deciding left side, nice straight shot, 100% committed to that shot. This time I'm in a little bit of trouble. I am in the rough underneath a tree, and I've come back behind my ball to see what kind of shot I have, and I can see that I need to abandon my idea of going to the green. I am going to have to take my medicine and put my shot out into the fairway so I can recover on my third shot. What I mainly need to do is keep the ball underneath these overhanging branches. And in order for me to keep the ball low, first of all, I'm going to pick a club that does not have a lot of loft. So in this case, I have a 23 degree, maybe called a 4 hybrid. Does not have a lot of loft. You could also use a 4-iron or a 5-iron, and any one of those would work. The next thing that I want to do is select a shot that's going to keep the ball low. And that means that I'm going to put the ball back in my stance, and back in my stance means off of my back leg. So I'm going to put the ball back in my stance. That will keep the ball low. Another thing that's going to keep the ball low is that I'm going to finish low. So my shot is going to be back in my stance. I'm going to finish low. So I'm not going to have a high finish, a normal finish. I'm going to keep it very low. And this shot could be called a punch shot or a knockdown shot. So here it goes. Going to put it safely back into the middle. Punch shot, keeping it low. All right, I'm safe, ready to go. This is my approach shot to the green. I'm about 50 yards out, and the first thing that I do is need to assess my situation. I look to the pin, and I see that the sand bunker comes out a little way into my shot. So I must make the ball go high and land softly on the green. That shot would be my basic pitch shot. The pitch shot goes high into the air. The other characteristic of a pitch shot is that we hinge our wrists on this side and we hinge our wrists on the other side. The pitch shot is a lot like our full swing. Here's our full swing. You'll notice that I keep my club low and I get a great big shoulder turn. My shoulder is way over here. That's my full swing. But I'm only 50 yards out, so I don't need a full swing. So in this case, I'm going to choke down a little bit to shorten up my club. That will make the ball go less far. The other thing is that I'm not going to take the club back so far. I'm not going to take a great big shoulder turn. I'm just going to bring it right up. So we'll pick the club up, we drop the club, and we have a full finish. Up, drop, full finish. This is a shot where you do need to take a couple of practice swings. So I suggest you take a couple of practice swings to ingrain that shot into your mind. Up, drop, full finish. And make sure that when I finish, I'm looking at my target. Here we go, 50 yards. Perfect shot.
Here we are, we're in number 1 fairway. We're going to hit an iron shot into the green, and I'm going to kind of quickly go over my setup and what I'm thinking when I do this. First thing that I'm going to do with my iron, obviously take your grip. You want to play the ball with your middle length irons in about the middle of your stance. And mainly what I think about when I'm getting ready to play this shot is I look for where the trouble's at, because I want to avoid that. So here on number 1, we've got a sand trap to the left, but it's very open, and actually the fairway runs up to the green around the right. So instead of going straight at the pin, because that could bring the bunker into play, I'm going to play a little bit more out to the right. So if I happen to miss-hit my shot, I'm going to be in the fairway, and it's going to be just a nice little chip onto the green, and I'll avoid that sand trap. So it's important to try to think about your shot a little bit before you go into doing it. Don't just step up and hit it. Kind of look for your trouble, look for where you want to play it at. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to look at my shot. Again, I'm going to play it out to the right-hand side. So I'm going to step up. I'm going to take my grip. Then I'm going to put the ball in the middle of my stance. I'm going to have my stance about shoulder width apart. A little bit of flex in my knees. Then I'm going to aim out just a little bit right of the flag, so in case I miss-hit it, I'm still going to be in the fairway. And there I am. I think I might be just a little bit short of the green, but I'm on the right-hand side and I kept the trouble out of play. here we are today. We're going to be showing you a little chip shot. We're here just short of number 1 green on the vintage, and today I'm going to show you how to hit a bump and run. Now, chipping is the one area in golf where you can make it as easy on yourself or as difficult on yourself as you want to. A lot of people choose the more difficult route. From here, they'll take a sand wedge or their 60-degree wedge, and they'll try to loft the ball high in the air and carry it all the way to the hole. That makes it for a much difficult shot for a few reasons. One being that they have to take a bigger swing to still hit the ball all the way to the hole. And then the other is that you have to try to judge your distance by figuring how much this arc is going to go in your shot, how high it's going to go, how far it's going to carry, and we don't really perceive things like that too well. So my shot, it's called the bump and run, and what I'm going to do today is we're going to set the ball up in the middle of our stance. I'm going to use a 9-iron, or I could even use a 8-iron. I've even seen professionals use a hybrid or a 3-wood. We're going to set the ball up in the middle of our stance. We're going to have our hands set forward. I'm going to keep a little more weight on the left side. And then when I swing, all it is just a nice putting stroke. I'm not going to use my hands. I'm just going to use my shoulders and just take a nice putting stroke, bump this ball up onto the green and let it roll out. So I'm going to keep it low and I'm going to let it roll to the hole. All right, so let's do this. Take my grip, ball in the middle of my stance, hands forward, a little more weight to the left side, and then just a nice shoulder turn, just like a putting stroke. And that shot you can perform consistently and accurately. Today, I'm going to be showing you guys how to hit a sand shot. Now, not often are you ever in a sand shot. Of course, you're always avoiding these things. But if you're ever in one, I'm going to give you some tips on how to get out of it. First thing to remember is that you're not allowed to ground your club before you take the swing at the ball, okay? Which is why I'm not holding this down here in the sand. I've got it up in my hands. To hit a sand shot, what you're wanting to do, take your normal stance, go ahead and dig in just a little bit because of the loose sand. You want to have a nice foundation. When you grip the club, it's going to be the same grip. And when I hold on to my sand wedge, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up the club face just a little bit more than what it would usually be. So once you have it in your hands, go ahead and just rotate it a little bit to have a little more loft to it. All right, then with my shot, I'm going to play the ball in about the middle of my stance, maybe back just a little bit to make sure that I get underneath the golf ball. And what you're looking to do is pick a spot that's going to be about a ½ inch to an inch behind the ball, and that's what you want to focus on. You want to focus on hitting into the sand, not necessarily hitting the ball. A lot of people think about hitting the ball, and that's when they end up blading the shot into the face or flying over the green. So you want to pick a spot that's about a ½ inch behind the ball to enter into the sand, and when you finish, you want to make sure to accelerate, throw the sand out of the trap, and that'll throw the ball out of the trap. All right, so let's see if I can do this today. So I take my normal stance. I got the ball back in my stance just a little bit. I'm going to dig in a touch. And I'm going to pick a spot. It's about a ½ inch behind the ball. And I'm going to make sure to take a decent backswing and make sure to have a nice follow through. Accelerate the club and hit the shot out. And that's how you hit a sand shot. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to hit a lag putt. I've got Sally Kosters here to assist me with this today. Now, a lag putt is different from a normal putt in the fact that it's just so much longer. In a lag putt, you're not necessarily thinking you're going to make it. You're just trying to get the ball as close as you can to the hole to then make it on your next shot. Because let's face it, we don't all put it inside the 10 feet. So this is where this comes into play. So the first part of the lag putt is I'm going to walk from the hole back to my ball, and I'm going to make sure I don't have any ball marks or any pitch marks in my way that I might need to fix before I hit the putt. And also while I'm doing this, I'm getting a feel for the lay of the green. This is a little bit of a downhill putt, so I'm going to keep that in mind as I stand up over top my ball. Now once I get behind my ball, I'm going to head and kneel down, and I try to get just a better view of the green. And again, I can still see that's a downhill putt, and it looks like it's probably going to break a little bit towards the front of the green. So I'm going to play it out to the left side of the hole and let it break to the right. Now that I've got that set, I'm going to take my grip, and I'm just going to take a couple practice strokes. And what I'm doing in this practice stroke is trying to get a feel for how hard I'm going to hit the ball. Okay, so I'm not going to get up here and just make a bunch of short strokes, because I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to want to do this either, because I'm not hitting the ball that far. I'm going to take a couple practice strokes, get a good feel for the green, look at my line, and I'm going to try to pick out a spot that I'm going to hit towards. Now the most important thing about lag putting is not necessarily having the perfect line, but having good speed. Because you're so far away from the hole, you could have the perfect speed and only hit it halfway to the hole, and you still left yourself with a 12-foot putt. Or if you hit it way too hard, you could end up chipping again. All right, so the most important thing isn't necessarily the line, but that you have good speed on a lag putt. Now that I'm all set,
Chris, would you like me to tend the flag?
she's going to tend the flag for me so I can still see the hole. And I'm going to get up here, take my grip and my stance. A few more practice strokes just to make sure I've got a good feel for my speed. Line up my putt. Oh.
Nice putt, Chris.
And there, I didn't have the perfect line, but I've got a makeable putt for my second putt.
That's the end.
And that's that.
Okay, well here we are at our favorite part of the day, having a little refreshment after a nice round of golf. Sally and Chris, it was great playing with you guys today. I actually learned a lot on the short game and how to get out of trouble. So I hope we can do this again, because I had a lot of fun.
Only I'm not going to be in trouble so much
That's true.
next time.
I'm going to make a putt or a chip, something, spice it up.
Yeah, your short game was really solid today, and that's one of the keys to great golf. So if you need help with any of these kind of things to your swing or anything else, feel free to call any of the pros here at Yankee Trace. That's what we love to do, is help other people play golf and hopefully get out there and play a round or two ourselves. Cheers.
All right.
Cheers.